The physical self. When we think of physical self, the first thing that comes to our mind is the physical features that include our body structures, our height, weight, skin color, and etc. The factors that shapes our physical self are biological factors and environmental factors. Physical self is not only limited to what our naked eyes can see. Beneath the skin is a dynamic system of biological and chemical processes that contribute to our physical features. The shape of our bodies, skin color, height, weight, and etc. do not just develop at random. These are triggered by the genetic transformation and biological development. Biological development embodies the concept of heredity. Heredity means the transformation of traits from parents to offspring. When we look at ourselves at the mirror, we think of who are the person that we look like the most. Is it our father or our mother? If you think that you only got one of your parents' look, that does not mean that you only inherit any physical traits from your mother or vice versa. This can be contributed to the concept of genotype and phenotype. Genotype refers to specific information embedded within our genes. It can only be determined through blood testing. Phenotypes refers to a physical expression of a particular trait. It can be observed directly. If a brown-skinned woman married a bright-skinned man and reproduces an offspring, and the offspring got brown skin, many people would think that he only inherited his mom's genes. But that's not the case. It all depends on who got dominant and recessive genes. The environmental factors. Genetic factor is not the only one who is influencing our physical self. As we grow, our world also expands. We became part of a social group that influences our physical self. Our family is our first social group. They form crucial foundation for our development. Our family is also primarily responsible for how we take care of our bodies. To achieve physical well-being, we need to eat healthy, embrace healthy lifestyle, and have the right hygiene. The sexual self. There are means through which sexuality is experienced, from childhood to old age, by means of body, through rules in life, by means of beliefs, and through relationships. It is something in nature and nurture. Individuals got a lot of experimentation to understand and verify their sexuality, and because of this, there are some who has high risk-taking behaviors. 4 sexual concepts. The gender identity. It is how a person view or see himself, herself in his or her mind. Sexual orientation. It is to whom are you sexually attracted, and it may change through time. Gender expression. It's how you move and what you wear. Biological sex. It depends on hormones and genitalia. Everyone has a basic idea of how women and men should act and behave. Men should be strong and dominant, while women are perceived to be submissive and demure. However, this case is not always the same. There are persons who was born as man but act like a woman, and a woman acts like a man. This was due to gender expression of a person, a man attracted to another man and a woman attracted to another woman. We cannot dictate a person of how he or she should act because they have the freedom to express themselves and show who they are.
Material or economic self. Symbolic self-completion. A theory of symbolic self-completion can be spelled out as the concepts of commitment to goals, symbols of completeness, and social reality. Commitment to self-defining goals. From Lewin's perspective, a goal-specific tension remains active only as long as the person is involved psychologically in the pursuit of the goal. Ocean Kina, 1928, found that when the task was important, personal to subjects, the resumption effects were strongest. For subjects who found the task to be personally unimportant, for example, trivial or arbitrary, the resumption rate was so low that one would be inclined to doubt the presence of a goal-directed attention system. How does one recognize a self-defining goal, in contrast to other kinds of goals? Self-defining means that people predicate of themselves some quality that corresponds to a sense of control and capability, such as parent, athlete, or artist. Further, and central here is that these goals are defined by interacting with others, and that the sense of progress toward the goal requires social recognition. Symbols of completeness. These may be defined generally as indicators of one's standing with respect to self-defining goals that are potentially recognizable by others. At a very rudimentary but important level are the simplest self-descriptions. For example, a person teaching at the university introduces himself to an audience as scientist. Of course, the human is not solely dependent on these kinds of open self-characterization. There are numerous abbreviations for immediate social acknowledgement, many of these describable as status symbols. Similarly, titles, official occupational positions, and membership in select interest groups are all socially evolved mechanisms for providing the individual with indicators or markers of possessing an aspired to self-definition. For the sake of convenience, it is possible to view such symbols as falling into three groups, being based on a. The background experience or training requisite to the activity. B. Occupying a position or status that furthers the relevant activities. Or C. Performance of the act itself. Social reality. Machler 1933 found that the tension reduction potential of a substitute task depended largely on whether or not solving the substitute task carried a social reality. The substitute task had tension-reducing properties only when the solution was announced to the experimenter. Once others acknowledge the person for having solved the problem, having solved it becomes a social fact and thus can serve as a self-defining symbol. This line of thinking can be carried back to Cooley 1902, who states that self-definition can come into being and remain stable only by virtue of the acknowledgement of others. Thus, the sense of progress towards self-defining goal is dependent on the acknowledgement of others. We will call this the social reality factor. We can also talk about the concept of broadening social reality. Once a person has an indicator at hand, the sense of completeness should be enhanced to the degree that one can inform more people about it, or more generally, enlarge the scope of individuals who would potentially recognize the completeness of the self-definition. The spiritual self, spirituality, religion, and the supernatural. What are religion and spirituality? Religion is an organized system of ideas about the spiritual or supernatural realm that is accompanied by rituals. Through rituals, people attempt to influence things that they think are beyond their control. Spirituality also concerns an aspects of the divine and supernatural, but is oftentimes limited to the individual, with no need for any formal organization. This is the search for meaning and direction in life and the ways by which one may preserve these. The two are related, although not separate from one another. Spirituality is much more profound than religion. Religion and its role in society. It is to explain things, to establish order, to justify things, to provide support, socializes people, vehicle for passage into a different domain. Theories on religion. Cognitive, it is to impart meaning and value to the world. Psychological, it is how people adapt to extreme fatigue and tension or stress. Social function, it looks at the relationships of people, unity, and conformity to the majority. Religion organized beliefs in the supernatural, fulfills numerous social and psychological needs. In the last 10 years, no group of people have gone or existed within religion. Religion symbols. Religions make sure of many symbols, norms, words, ideas, and objects that point to other objects. When put together, these symbols become a system of knowledge. Religion myths. These are stories that have explanations about the divine and the supernatural. Within a culturally, myths are considered real. This is accompanied by ideology and a world view. Modern major religions have their myths: Brahma, Krishna, Vishnu, many more. Hinduism, Muhammad and the angel Gabriel. Islam, Adam and Eve. Judaism and Christianity, the Jade Emperor or Heavenly Grandfather. Taoism. Myth, religious sacred stories that provide basis for beliefs, practices. Origins of humanity, creation of the universe, nature of death or illness. Lay the following for values or morals, can be passed down verbally or in writing. Myths help to shape culture's worldview. So, what is worldview? Worldview is the collective body of ideas that members of a culture generally share concerning the ultimate shape and substance of their reality. Myths help to shape a culture's worldview, the way they look at reality. Example, Judeo-Christian or Sinabahang worldview. All religions serve a number of important functions. First, they reduce anxiety by explaining the unknown and offer comfort in times of crisis. Second, they provide notions of right and wrong, setting precedents for acceptable behavior. And third, through ritual, religion may be used to enhance the learning of oral tradition. Religion rituals. Religion have rituals or ritu. It is whatever is done repeatedly. So we have two types of ritual. It is one according to the calendar or calendric, two based on crisis. Religion rites of passage. It is rites of separation, rites of transition, rites of incorporation, and rites of intensification.
So, what is digital self? Well, it is a persona used when entering an online platform. People create many types of identities that are different to who they really are, expressing self and identity in social media platforms. Well, majority of social media users are teens and young adults. Now, how is this related to the subject? How is this going to be related to digital self? Well, most of the teens are undergoing the stage of adolescence. And with adolescence, there's bound to be a change in character. Now, let me explain. Adolescence is a period where a person undergoes changes in his or her body, physically, mentally, and emotionally, shifting itself to enter a period of individuation for their identity construction of an autonomous self. With different social media sites, they provide the space necessary for identity construction. As the adolescent is forming or constructing his autonomous self, there are actually three types of adolescent self esteem. Number one, self concept. What is self concept? Well, self concept is how we perceive our behaviors, abilities, and unique characteristics. Personal self esteem. What is this? It describes your level of confidence in your abilities and attributes. Last but not the least, is the collective self esteem. What is a collective self esteem? Is this similar to personal self esteem? Well, collective self esteem describes the aspect of an individual's self image that it stems from how the individual interacts with others and the groups that the individual is part of. As we continue this lesson, it will make more sense how adolescent identity construction and adolescent self-esteem makes sense. How those three categories or topics is related to the main topic. Now the question remains, how can adolescent identity construction be related to digital self? Well, let's get into it. Based from the study conducted by Brillantes Evangelista, Bai and Dick Kong back in 2013, it is a process of forming autonomous self that can be presented to an audience. It can be categorized by two, them being personal identity, refers to the personality attributes of an individual which aren't shared with other people, and social identity. It is an aspect of the individual's self-concept as it is stemming from their knowledge of their membership in the social groups. One of the many platforms that teens use to express themselves would be Facebook, founded by Mark Zuckerberg at the year 2004, with its focus being to be exclusively available for Harvard students only. It has been used for many people by many people, including teens, to convey what they feel for the audience to see. Facebook is one of the many sites that can help with creating spaces for self-revelations and assertions, expressing on different identities, and the freedom of creating a virtual surrogated group. However, it will be very difficult as it will become unhealthy when it comes with replacing it with reality. Many negative outcomes arises from every existing platforms, but they should know when and how to stop it before it gets too